The night was colder than usual. A thick mist wrapped around the streets of Lagos, making the streetlights flicker like dying fireflies. The town had already settled into silence, with only the distant sound of barking dogs and the occasional hoot of an owl breaking the stillness. Zara pulled her thin scarf tighter around her neck as she hurried home. Her feet ached from scrubbing floors all day at Great Enterprises, and her stomach growled in protest she hadn't eaten since morning. But hunger was a familiar companion, one she had long learned to ignore. As she turned into a narrow alley, she heard a sound that made her stop. A cough, low and weak. Her heart thumped as she squinted through the mist. Then she saw her. An old woman sat slumped against a crumbling brick wall. Her clothes were ragged, her silver hair tangled like the roots of an abandoned tree. She rocked slightly, her frail hands clutching a dusty shawl around her bony shoulders. Her eyes shadowed and hollow held the weight of sorrow too heavy for words. Zara hesitated. The stories of Lagos warned against helping strangers at night. The elders often spoke of spirits that wore human skin, testing the hearts of the living. But Zara was not one to turn away from suffering. She stepped forward. "Ma, are you okay?" she asked, her voice soft, cautious. The old woman looked up. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to speak, but only another cough escaped. Zara's heart squeezed. She knew what it felt like to be forgotten, to have no one to turn to. Without another thought, she slipped off her own scarf and gently wrapped it around the woman's shoulders. "You're freezing," Zara murmured. "Come, my house is not far. I don't have much, but I have warm water and food." The woman's eyes widened slightly, as if surprised by the offer. Then, with a small nod, she let Zara help her to her feet. Her body was frighteningly light, as if the wind could carry her away. They walked in silence through the deserted streets. Zara could feel the woman's frail fingers trembling against her arm. Something about her felt strange. Not in a bad way, but in the way old things carry forgotten stories like an abandoned house with secrets in its walls. As they approached Zara's tiny one-room apartment, the woman suddenly stiffened. "What is it?" Zara asked, looking around. The old woman's lips parted slightly, her breath fogging in the cold air. "He is watching," she whispered. A shiver ran down Zara's spine. "Who?" she asked, glancing nervously over her shoulder. But the woman said nothing more. Inside, Zara quickly boiled some water and set a steaming cup in front of the woman. The warm glow of the kerosene lamp softened the harsh lines of her face, but her eyes remained distant, lost in a place Zara couldn't see. "Here, Ma, drink this," Zara urged, handing her the cup. The woman took a slow sip, her fingers curling around the ceramic like it was the first warmth she had felt in years. Then, for the first time, she spoke. "You have a kind heart," she said, her voice hoarse but strangely firm. "It will take you far, but it will also bring you pain." Zara blinked, caught off guard. "What do you mean?" The woman stared into her cup as if searching for answers at the bottom. Then, she reached into the folds of her shawl and pulled out a small pendant. It was old, its silver surface tarnished with time, but the emblem on it gleamed in the dim, lightened, intricate crest, shaped like the roots of a great tree. She pressed it into Zara's hand. "This belongs to you now," she whispered. Zara frowned. "I can't take this, Ma." But when she looked up, the woman's eyes were sharp, almost desperate. "Keep it close," she urged. "When the time comes, it will show you the truth." Zara's chest tightened. What truth? But the woman did not answer. She simply smiled a sad, knowing smile and sipped her tea. Later that night, as Zara lay in bed, the pendant resting beside her pillow, sleep refused to come. Somewhere outside, a shadow moved past her window, and in the distance, hidden within the mist, a pair of eyes watched, waiting. The night air felt colder than usual. A slow wind whistled through the empty streets as Zara clutched the strange pendant tightly in her palm. She couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. It had been hours since she last saw the old woman, and the more she thought about it, the more questions clouded her mind. Who was she? Why did she disappear so suddenly? And why did this pendant, smooth, golden, and engraved with an ancient crest, feel like it carried a secret too heavy for her hands? The next morning, she walked into Great Enterprises with the pendant hidden in her pocket. She needed answers, but before she could reach the CEO's office, trouble found her first. A sharp, angry voice cut through the hallway. "You? Thief?" Zara froze. The entire office turned to look at her. Chief Noah, a powerful and cunning board member, was storming toward her. His dark eyes burned with fury. He held up a small velvet box. "This is where the CEO's most precious heirloom was kept," he growled, pointing at the empty space inside. "And now it's missing." His gaze locked onto her. "And you, a mere cleaner, are walking around with a pendant just like it." A murmur of whispers filled the air. Some of the staff shook their heads. Others smirked, already convinced she was guilty. Zara's heart pounded. "No, I didn't steal anything. I found this. I was going to return it." Chief Noah sneered. "Oh, how convenient." His voice dripped with mockery. "A poor little cleaner just happens to find the missing heirloom of the great family." Zara turned desperately to her supervisor, then to the other workers. "I swear, I don't know where it came from. But no one believed her. A guard stepped forward. "Miss Zara, please come with us." Her throat tightened. No, this wasn't fair. But before she could say another word, 2 guards grabbed her by the arms and dragged her outside. She was fired. Just like that. As she stumbled out into the darkening streets, the weight of her fate crashed down on her. She had lost her job. She had lost her dignity. And now she was lost herself. Tears stung her eyes. But before they could fall, something strange happened. A whisper, soft as a sigh, cold as a breath against her ear. "Find the truth, where shadows linger." Zara whipped around. No one was there. The streets were empty. But the whisper hadn't come from her imagination. She was sure of it. Her heart pounded. Shadows? What did that mean? Then, like a spark in the darkness, she remembered. The old great mansion. Everyone in town knew about it, the abandoned estate that belonged to the CEO's family. No one lived there anymore. People said it was haunted, cursed. But if this pendant was truly connected to the great family, maybe the answers were there. Her fingers tightened around the pendant. She had no job, no money, nothing left to lose. So she went. The great mansion loomed like a forgotten giant at the edge of town. Its iron gates stood rusted and broken, wrapped in wild vines. The windows were dark, like empty eyes staring down at her. The old doors creaked as she pushed them open, stepping into the unknown. Dust filled the air, thick and heavy. Moonlight slanted through shattered glass, casting strange patterns on the walls. The house smelled of wood, old books, and something else, something ancient. Zara's footsteps echoed as she moved through the grand but decayed halls. She ran her fingers over the paintings on the walls, their faces staring at her like frozen ghosts. And then she saw it. A portrait. A woman with wise eyes and a gentle smile. Zara's breath caught in her throat. It was her, the old woman she had saved. A chill ran down her spine. What was her picture doing here? She reached out to touch it. Suddenly, a gust of wind howled through the mansion, though no windows were open. The flames in the dusty lanterns flickered wildly. And then, a whisper. This time, it wasn't soft. It wasn't gentle. You are not supposed to be here. Zara spun around. A shadow moved. Not just any shadow, something alive. It slithered along the walls, stretching and shifting like a living thing. Her blood turned to ice. She wanted to run, but her feet wouldn't move. The truth was buried long ago. The voice continued, deeper, darker, and those who seek it will suffer. The room grew colder. The shadows crept closer. Zara's pulse hammered. She had to leave, now. But before she could take a step, her eyes landed on a wooden desk in the corner. Papers, letters, old records. Her gut told her that something important was there. Gathering every ounce of courage, she lunged forward and grabbed as many papers as she could. The shadows roared. The air felt thick, suffocating, like invisible hands pressing against her chest. Then, a deafening bang. The front doors slammed shut. Zara ran. She sprinted down the halls, heart in her throat. The shadows chased her, whispering, clawing at her skin. She reached the door, pushed with all her strength, and light. The moment she stepped outside, the voices stopped. The cold vanished. The shadows recoiled, disappearing into the darkness of the house. Panting, she stumbled forward, gripping the papers to her chest. She had found something the darkness didn't want her to see. She wasn't sure what it was yet, but one thing was certain. The truth was bigger, darker, and more dangerous than she ever imagined. And now, it was hunting her. The night was thick with shadows, the air heavy with an eerie silence. The wind howled through the ancient trees surrounding the great estate, carrying whispers that seemed to slither through the darkness. Zara clutched the glowing pendant, her heart hammering in her chest as she and Omar stepped into the abandoned mansion. The air smelled of old wood, forgotten memories, and something else, something sinister, lurking just beyond sight. A low growl rumbled through the walls. The shadows stretched unnaturally, slithering across the cracked floor like living creatures. The pendant in Zara's hand flickered, casting strange patterns on the walls. "We shouldn't be here," Omar whispered, his breath uneven. "We don't have a choice," Zara replied, gripping his arm. "Your mother is still trapped, and the curse won't end unless we face it." Suddenly, a chilling laugh echoed from the darkness. It was deep, raspy, and filled with malice. Chief Noah emerged from the shadows, his face twisted with a smug smile. His expensive suit looked out of place in the crumbling mansion, but his eyes cold and hungry gleamed like those of a man who had seen beyond the veil of the living. "You should have stayed away, little girl," he sneered, his voice dripping with mockery. "Some secrets are better left buried." Zara's fists clenched. "You betrayed this family. You knew about the curse, didn't you?" Noah chuckled. "Oh, I knew. I did more than just know, I ensured it remained. You see, power comes at a cost, and I wasn't about to let some foolish sense of morality take away what I built. Omar stepped forward, his face filled with fury. You let my mother suffer just to hold on to your power? Noah's smile widened. She was the price I paid. The entity demanded a life, and I was more than willing to offer hers. The shadows around him twisted, forming a dark, shifting mass. A pair of glowing red eyes blinked open within the darkness. The temperature dropped instantly. Zara's breath turned into mist. The shadow entity had arrived. A deep, guttural voice echoed through the room, sending shivers down Zara's spine. The debt is unpaid. A life must be taken. Noah stepped back, sweat beading on his forehead. Wait, no, I gave you what you wanted, he stammered. The entity's laughter rumbled through the room. A broken promise, a lie. Now, the debt doubles. The darkness lunged. Noah screamed, but it was swallowed by the night as the entity wrapped around him, pulling him into its suffocating embrace. His body convulsed, his screams turning into distorted echoes. Senseless, the shadows recoiled, leaving behind nothing but Noah's empty suit, crumpled on the ground. Zara's heart pounded. It's not over yet, she whispered. The entity turned its glowing eyes on her. The first debt is settled. The second remains. Omar grabbed Zara's hand. What does it mean? Zara's mind raced. The visions had shown her the truth her family's bloodline was tied to the curse. They were meant to break it generations ago but failed. Now, the responsibility had fallen to her. The pendant, she whispered. It's the key. The entity hissed, recoiling slightly as the pendant's glow intensified. Zara held it up, its golden light cutting through the shadows like a blade. The darkness shuddered. You were bound by deception, she said, her voice steady. The price was never meant to be human lives, it was meant to be justice. You betrayed, just like Omar's mother. The entity let out a deep, mournful wail. The mansion trembled, the walls cracking as the curse's grip began to loosen. The shadows swirled violently before slowly unraveling like smoke caught in the wind. A soft gasp came from the far end of the room. Emerging from the dissolving darkness was a frail woman, her silver hair cascading down her shoulders, her eyes wide with shock. Omar inhaled sharply, his voice breaking. Mother! The woman looked at him, her lips trembling. Tears welled in her eyes. Omar? In a heartbeat, he ran to her, wrapping her in his arms as she sobbed against his chest. Zara felt her own eyes sting with tears. The mansion stilled. The whispers faded. The entity was gone. The curse was broken. As they stepped into the morning light, Zara felt something shift within her. Fate had woven their paths together, but it was kindness, courage, and love that had rewritten their story. And as Omar turned to her, his gaze filled with something deeper than gratitude, she knew this was only the beginning. The hidden heiress had been found, and her life would never be the same again. The story teaches us that kindness can lead to unexpected blessings, as seen in Adana's selfless act that changed her destiny. Truth always prevails, no matter how deeply hidden, while greed and betrayal ultimately lead to destruction, as in Chief Amaichi's downfall. Courage has the power to break even the darkest curses, proving that fear should never stop us from doing what is right. Family and love are far more valuable than power or wealth, and one's background does not define their future. Determination and goodness do. Lastly, Evil may seem powerful, but in the end, justice and righteousness will always triumph. Thank you so much for watching this intense and gripping story on African Tales Stories channel. Your support means everything to us. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments section, and we'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comment section below. Don't forget to share this story so that more people can watch and learn. Until next time, stay tuned for more captivating African tales, stories. Bye.